Welcome to my second video. I ended up deciding to divide my 22 album grading system into 3 parts. I will have, this part is the main albums I listened to that were on my radar from throughout the year earlier on. Uh, Second part will be leftovers mixed in with stuff I had listened to right after my cutoff, which was December 11th. And then part 3 is a mix of albums that I listened to post Christmas of 2022, and we'll be listening to fill in time for when I stream via Twitch, because I'm not going to use new albums to start out the year. I'm going to use albums that came out last year, except for a select few where I've talked with the bands and stuff like that, and stuff I specifically want to stream from the earlier albums that are being released in 2023. But those albums will be put towards my 2023 list. The ones that are from this year. These albums are just being listened to throughout this month, and some in February, some in March. It will be 3 lists, different, talking about, in the end, probably do 5 albums, 10 to 12 EPs for the second part, and then for the third part, 5 to 7 albums, 10 to 13 EPs, because that's where the EPs make up the most of part 2 and part 3. So, to start my list are the notable honorable mentions that weren't in my previous video that deal with, they are bigger bands. They're more well known, and they were more well known to me. Ellis Dunes is a supergroup of My Chemical Romance, Coheed and Cambria, Search and Survive, and Thursday members. The songs of note to me are 2022, Permanent Rebellion, and Past Lives. The album ended up ranking 30th overall. I will say it was an album that, if it was released as an EP with certain songs taken out, I don't remember exactly which songs I didn't like. I know it was more of the middle album of the album. And it's not that I didn't like them. It's more that they weren't as strong of entries as the songs of note, and maybe 2 or 3 more songs from that album. The grade would have been better. Up next is Thousand Below, which they ended up one-upping both Bad Omens, Fame on Fire, and bands like that, sorts the emotional post-hardcore metalcore sound. What we call the emotional metalcore in the scene. It ended up being my 26th ranked album overall, and the top songs were Venosa, Sabotage, and Clockwork Enemy. Another one that would have had a better time being an EP, for sure. The Oklahoma Kid is a band that could have been in my previous one because they were a newer band, but I wanted to specifically highlight this band as an honorable mention because it got higher up on my overall list. It was a surprise. It had the nostalgical feel of that post-hardcore you hear with Bless the Fall, mixed with Thursday-ish sounds, mixed with some pop-punky sounds. My top song ended up being Volster Ben, and it's that was just a highlighted track because the whole album itself is a highlight reel, and it hits that nostalgia. It ended up being my 24th overall ranking. Outline and Color is a hard-working scene band that's been building a niche crowd. Could have gone the Ice Nine Kills route, or ended up as an IC Stars, where they end up just going away slowly, but it looks like IC Stars is on their way back. The whole album is fun. Not two particular, it's more of that nostalgia core sound that I like, and that sound itself ended up getting my bonus style, a higher bonus, and that's why the ranking ended up being higher. It is in my top 25 at 23. And then my last honorable mention is the funniest and fun band of 2022, Electric Callboy, with their album that has no skips whatsoever. Highlighted tracks are the surprising Hurricane, the awesome Techno Train, and then Fuckboy, the pop punk standout with Conquer and Divide. So, on to my top 20. Some of my top 20 is on Twitter. If you go back to prior to Christmas and right after Christmas, you will see highlighted bands from my top 75 overall, which this is technically my top 70, part of my top 75. The other albums in my part 2 and 3 would be sprinkled throughout or lower than 75 probably, but they have good grades. These are the standout albums from what I know from this year. Avoid, another nostalgia core sounding band. Nostalgia with that pop punk mix with the Day to Remember. Ended up loving it. No standout tracks. It's just the sound itself that they curate and do well. And they did it well enough with my bonuses, which I am switching my way I'm doing it for 2023. And I will talk about that in a short. To explain what I'll be doing then. But Avoid comes in at number 20. At number 19, we get Wind Waker. Another fun band with that post-hardcore nostalgia sound at times. But they add a much better twist than other bands. They go into that new metal sound. They go into that deathcore sound. They have the heavy song that's just a 2-minute song. That's a freestyle thing that they did. And it's just fun lyrics, funniness, and it was a great time, and it got into my top 20 at 19. At 17 is Chuggaboom. Chuggaboom is a booming band. They are fun. They will rip you apart. They also have melodic sensibilities. They are a band that do it much better than other nostalgic core sounding bands. They go a little heavier. They have deathcore moments, but they don't go full deathcore completely. They are a better Stand the Canvas. And Stand the Canvas ended up being a highlighted band from this top 75. Lorna Shore. Everyone's favorite deathcore band. Whether favorite in the sense that you're mocking them, like I'm doing right now, or favorite when they are your entry into deathcore, which Lorna Shore was my entry into deathcore and has begun giving me that journey to heavier music with a little more emotion, or just heavy in general. I have struggled with beatdown deathcore. This is the melodic deathcore that you see, the blackened deathcore, the blackened death metal, that realm. This album could have been an EP, which would have definitely gotten this in my top 5 if it was an EP because of how long the songs are. And there were 2 songs that I did not like as much. Still like them. They're just not replayable in my mind to a high degree. Replayable when you're listening through the album completely. Not replayable when you're going through a playlist. Lorna Shore's opening track, Welcome Back, Oh Sleeper, and the Pain Remains trilogy at the end are the best openers and closers to an album from this year. The melodic metalcore, hardcore sound that I was never really into, and on the heavier side, but thanks to Foreign Hands, a band that's newer, allowed me to take this band coming up next and put them into a better sphere. Counterparts. At number 12, love the album Whispers in My Death or Whispers of My Death, don't know the title, was fun. I like the spoken word elements. I like just the heaviness, but not too heavy. I like the melodicness, but not too melodic. It just goes. And I need a go band, and Counterparts is a new one. I am going back and tracking other years, and they are in part ending up in my top 10s or top 15s for other years. Going back and re-listening to those bands I missed from other years, which I will talk about in another video in more depth. Patient 67, another post-hardcore, metalcore sounding band that has emo sensibilities, is number 11. And it was an album that shocked me because I did not know about it at first part of 2022. But once it got closer to the date and I saw that they had released an EP, glad I didn't listen to it as an EP because some of those songs ended up on the full album and I couldn't do a double grade. So, Patient 67 ends up in my top 20 at 11. So now we are heading into the top 10, and these bands are more well known in general, except for two newer bands to me. And in general, I will say we have more strongholds in this top 10. At 10, Miss May I. Miss May I put out one of the best regular metalcore albums out there. That throwback sound to right before Risecore. Before we got the electronic elements, we got before the Risecore, we got Epitaph and just straight up metalcore with that kill switch engage sound and that and nostalgia sound for that specific metalcore sound. My favorite song was it had to be the one where he's talking to his child. I forget the name. I should have wrote it down. I'm sort of reading off of the script. I will say, Miss May I put out a great album, and leave it at that. It got to my top 10. It did lag a little bit compared to other bands that are higher up, and we'll get to those bands now. Skipping 9, because 9 is on my Twitter. I will say who it is. Taylor Swift. I am a Swiftie. I like pop. I like everything. I will put artists that I think put out great albums, no matter what genre, wherever I want. So, we come to We Came as Romans at 8. Wished, another thing where it would have gone higher if they used a different song, Dark Bloom with Brand of Sacrifice. If that was the version that they put on this album, instead of the one that they already released by themselves, I hate to say it, the one with Brand of Sacrifice would have made this at least my number 3 album of the year. It was that close, though. The whole album itself is a fun time till the end, with the sad song about Kyle, and you have to give them props for going emotional at the end and giving highlights to their fallen, giving a highlight to their fallen member, and speaking to us emotionally, just like the Devil Wears Prada did with their album, which the Devil Wears Prada was lower down because of lack of replayability, because of how sad that album can make me. Now we go to another fun band, October Ends. This band is quite literally just a mixed bag. It's got the mixed bag with the new metal sound at times. It can go with a little bit of post-hardcore sound from the Bless the Fall point of view. But it sticks to the I See Stars electronica core type sensibilities, and that hits me harder because that's the kind of realm, the Risecore realm, that I like, that I grew up on. So that's why hearing a new band like that and getting that little itch scratched with October Ends was the great part. Next is the band Because of Lorna Shore beats Lorna Shore out on my list. The Gloom in the Corner. Fun deathcore. Deathcore with meaning. Deathcore with more. Deathcore with just a story. And it's a riveting story. Don't know the lore. There's a lore video out there. I should watch that. This band is fun. And the inverted breakdown that they do with their singing with the actual music and stamp stopping, and then the inverted chorus / breakdown that they do with the what goes around comes around, but like screaming it is the best part. And then 5 on Twitter, you can look me up, ZACHH312 is my Twitter handle. Go back, you can look at that. Dayseeker tops the year for emotional metalcore-ish with that R&B sensibility. Crying While You're Dancing, one of my favorite songs. They do go heavy, but not too heavy. This is about loss. It's about emotion, and it strikes that chord that I need. And it's sad enough. It's happy enough at times, and the sound is happy enough that I can go back to it. Unlike The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears Prada was a more melancholy total record. Dayseeker is fun with the sad, and it's the mixed emotions a part about it that is what drives me to this band. Little drum roll. Number 3, great comeback by Sleeping with Sirens. Kellen's at his best in this record. You get the heavy Kellen, the roars Kellen, the Kellen that we needed. But then you get the sing-songy Kellen, the Kellen that's there, and then you get the great post-hardcore sound that is what was my first instance of heavy outside of Atreyu and that type of hard rock. And then we get to my number 2 album of the year, Ocean's 8 Alaska. They are a metalcore band with a deathcore sound and deathcore timing. Like the machine that Chris Turner is as a drummer is what drew me to this band. The vocalist is what's kept me. And in general, the things that they do that are different, the lo-fi beats in some songs, the interlude type songs, the short and punchy, the Acacia Strain, now that I know the reference because I've gone back to the Acacia Strain in my journey that I've been doing, and I will talk about that journey in another video. New Dawn, the quick ripper, the ripper that rips your throat out. And it's what I love about that. They are metalcore, but they have that deathcore sensibility that you need. And finally, another band that just added that deathcore sensibility, a band that I have been up and down with since hearing them because of hard ties to external factors, but I can't doubt and take a part in their emotional story that has come up in research of external research via Twitter, via other apps, hearing story and hearing great things, and one of the reasons why I ended up buying a ticket to their upcoming tour that will be here on March 8th, where I'm at. Fit for a King. Fit for a King put out The Hell We Create, and yes, they are what you would consider a Christian band. I took that sense of The Hell We Create as a more personal note, and that's what it affects me as. And the reason why it's my number 1 is it's got the heavy, it's got the melodic, but it's definitely got the soul, and it punches you where it needs to be punched emotionally. And on top of the emotional punch, it just punches. It punches you, and it punches you, and it beats you down in the sense that it's metalcore to the T that you need with deathcore sensibilities. And I am happy I have tried to give this band another shot. This album cemented it as my 2022 album of the year, and that is it. Check out for YouTube Shorts that I will be releasing. Check out for TikToks on about other interests. I do have a Discord if you want to join my Discord. If you see this, we can talk music. We can talk my other interests. It's specifically, it was a sports Discord, specifically about a football team. You don't have to take part in that portion if you don't want to. I have other things to talk about, more videos that will be coming. These videos will be coming anywhere between, hopefully, I will be doing some YouTube shorts, so that will be filling in. I don't have any exact ideas. If you want some specific content created, message me in my Discord or find me on Twitter. I will figure out how I can do that. But thank you for watching this. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with these albums and EPs. Look out for part 2 sometime being filmed and released towards the end of January, and then part 3 will definitely be released in the middle of March, because some of the albums I'll be listening to for the rest of 2022 releases will be streamed for February and March on Twitch. And my Twitch is ZeusBolt at 213. Yeah, sayonara.